We will be asking the question, with the extraordinary success of YouTube boxing, is Misfits now the face of boxing? Not Canelo, not AJ, not Tyson Fury.
Not even Ryan Garcia.
Not Shakur Stevenson, but the likes of KSI, Jake Paul, Logan Paul and Salt Pappy. So there's something for you to chew on. We're also going to look, of course, at the big fight coming up this weekend, KSI versus Joe Fournier. So let's get straight into it, guys. This weekend at the OVO Arena, Wembley, YouTube fighter KSI takes on unbeaten professional Joe Fournier. Now, before I get the panel's views, some receipts on the two fighters. Let's start with KSI, 30 years of age, 6 foot, 76-inch reach. He's orthodox fighter, cruiserweight, and that's important because I'm going to go on to that later. 6 fights in total, just one as a pro, but 6 fights in total. 5 wins, 1 draw. He's beaten the likes of Joe Wello, whoever that is. Logan Paul, he's fought twice, 1 draw, 1 win. Luis Pineda, Swarms, the legendary Swarms, and FaZe Temper. Of those 6 fights, he's got 4 KOs, no losses, 1 draw. Logan Paul. Now let's look at Joe Fournier. He's actually a professional fighter, 40 years old, born in Monaco, France. He's 6 foot, 76-inch reach, so he measures up quite well to KSI in that regard. He's a light heavyweight, so he's giving away some weight under normal circumstances anyway. Orthodox fighter. He's had 10 fights, 9 wins, 9 KOs, no losses, 1 no contest. Although I've got to point out that 8 of his fights have been in the Dominican Republic. And Fournier's opponents have a combined record of 29 wins and 116 losses. So that in itself tells its own story. So
it's a horrid
story. Record than KSI's opponents combined, to be fair.
No, it's not. And this is the thing I wanted to touch on. The distinction you made there of saying Joe Fournier's a pro boxer and then KSI isn't a pro boxer. I'm pretty sure the majority of KSI's bouts since the second Logan Paul one have actually been professional bouts. Yeah, he does have a...
No, but he's only
his first professional fight. His first pro fight was against Logan Paul.
Yeah.
And his fights since then, I don't know why they haven't put it on the record, have technically been professional bouts. Unlike Logan Paul. Yeah, but it was a professional bout. But the point is, just because he has a profile and just because of that, that doesn't make him any less of a pro boxer than Joe Fournier. Just because Joe Fournier, like you said, was fighting bums in the Dominican Republic.
Now you know why we're calling him the KSI sim.
No, right, because
I actually just want to ask you a question because you brought up a statement which, I mean, I've been going round and round in circles about this. The quality control of getting a license, there doesn't appear to be any. There doesn't appear to be any quality control. So as long as you have a
That's
boxing...
not strictly true. And I'll tell you why. If I could just come in quickly. Let me just say this. Because Rio Ferdinand tried to get a professional boxer's license and he was rejected. Carry on.
He was also 40 years of age.
The reason why I'm saying that is because legally and officially, Swarms versus KSI was a professional fight. There's no way you're telling me that that's of a professional quality.
It was a professional fight, therefore professional quality.
So therefore, whilst it may be professional rules, it doesn't mean it's professional quality. There's a difference. There's a complete difference. That's what I'm saying. So are we just saying just because you have a professional license, that means you are a professional boxer that's fighting of a professional quality? I'll
throw the argument about Tommy Fury then, who everyone classified as a professional boxer. The majority of his opponents had like a combined record again of about 10 wins and 120 losses. I would argue that a lot of those early fights were not of professional quality. They were people put there for him to beat.
That's why I asked you the question.
And if you look at most boxers, as you said, cherry-picking opponents until they get 20, 30 and 0, the majority of them go through at least 10 fights or so that are not of professional quality because there's such a huge gulf in quality.
There's a difference, and I really feel like you're forgetting the difference. It's very fine to fight journeymen. Everybody fights journeymen throughout the entire career. That's perfectly fine. The statement that I'm trying to make is, if I'm going in the pro ranks and I'm fighting a person who has never boxed before, in the case of Swarms, it's different than fighting a journeyman. There's a complete difference. If I fight someone who I'm better than because I'm their journeyman, it's different to fighting someone who's never boxed.
There has to be a caveat in that. First of all, that was not his original fight. He was meant to fight Alex Wasabi, who pulled out within 2 weeks' notice. He then brought in another professional boxer who had actually had a decent record from I forget, Eastern Europe somewhere, but it turned out he was some KKK member or some racist
the Bulgarian guy with the
Bulgarian
white supremacist
white
tattoos.
supremacist, so they had to cancel him, and then they brought in Luis Pineda and Swarms as a double act.
Can I ask you a question?
Like he was trying to feed himself an easy fight.
Has any of those fighters, other than Pineda, which I do give, even though Pineda wasn't a great fighter, he's a professional.
Yeah, he was about half the size of KSI.
Temper had a good record.
Is in the pro ranks against professionals.
Well, he was fighting in other professional fights, wasn't he?
I think you two are getting somewhat sidetracked. You've got to start from somewhere, and both of them have had their starts. We're here where we are now. Let's bring in the voice of reason, Nick.
So when it comes to quality control, real quick on quality control, just to sit...
Not too much on
really quickly. There is a financial element and there is a geographical element to quality control. So that's why it's a caveat that Joe Fournier's fights have been fought in the Dominican Republic, or that, you know, certain people maybe coming from East Europe and different things like that. That is, you know, there are levels to quality control. When you guys are talking about quality control, we look at, say, a sport like football. We have different leagues, different levels. Someone could be a professional footballer playing League Two. That is very different from being a professional footballer playing the Premier League. So
we all know boxing has no real regulation.
Yeah, so it's a question of regulation, and what these guys are doing, Misfits, really well from a business perspective, is finagling that regulation to sell fights on the basis that this is pro. But I know we want to talk about, is Misfits the face of boxing, and is maybe KSI the face of boxing?
Why is it so popular?
Well, I would challenge, is it the face of boxing? You know, is it the most financially lucrative? Perhaps. Does that make it the face? For me, probably not. We saw Ryan Garcia face Tank, and for all of the things that we're not fans of for Ryan Garcia, apart from you
guys are not fans of.
On the social media side of things, I think that he's playing his role as a professional boxer perfectly. Even if you think that maybe he gets fights that he shouldn't do, in terms of promoting himself and in terms of that side of things, the discipline maybe isn't there in terms of training camps, but he plays that line really, really well. We've always seen celebrity boxing matches going back decades. People have always liked to watch celebrities get into the ring. Maybe not professional, maybe not going super hard, but it's been a fascinating thing, and that's always been there. There's always been a character element to it, but professional boxing is still professional boxing. The gold standard is always going to be, I don't know, an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world is always going to be what everybody is going to come out and watch, no matter what. So I don't think you can make an argument about the business side, are they the most financial, but I don't think the face of boxing. I do look at them like slightly different sports. We've seen YouTube.
No, they are different sports. Yes. But what I'm saying is about I'm talking mainly about the popularity, because I was saying to you guys off air that in the lead up to this fight this weekend, which, let's face it, is going to be a sellout, I watched the face-off between KSI and Joe Fournier. It's no great shakes, to be honest. Neither of them particularly good trash talkers, or even that charismatic, if I'm being honest.
KSI's pretty charismatic.
He's pretty charismatic, but I could name plenty of guys in boxing that are way more charismatic than him.
Name some.
But the point I was going to make is that face-off video that they did has nearly got, I think it's got over 1 million views.
Of course.
No boxers, I don't care who they are, Canelo, AJ, would get those types of numbers.
Of course.
And so that's why you could argue that Misfit Boxing now has, by some way, I don't quite know how they've managed to do it, but they've done it, become the face of boxing.
I will throw a caveat in to actually go against my overall argument. The platform that's on is YouTube. The majority of people who use YouTube are in the 18 to 35 demographic. All our key demographics for Misfits, influencers,
Facts.
whatever. Whereas there is still another demographic of 35 to 55/60-year-olds, the punters that watch Sky, that buy pay-per-views, that go to fights, that will still watch other fights. I mean, you saw even like Smith versus Eubank Jr. sold out 30,000 or 20,000, whatever. It was a big sellout, bigger than a lot of these Misfits events even, and that wouldn't have had the online traction that KSI Fournier had. Now the reason why they are actually a lot bigger than a lot of these other fights, though, is because they're selling themselves. It's the entertainment business. I say it all the time. Boxing for me is not a sport. It is an entertainment business, and that can annoy people. can annoy people all at once.
Sounds
but
like
it's
WWE,
entertainment
bro.
business. Chael Sonnen said himself.
Can it not be both a sport and entertainment business?
Of course, it is of course, by legal definition. Okay, but of course, by legal definition, it is a sport, but it is entertainment business.
But he is right.
It's not like
He is
football,
right,
where you're just going to turn up week in, week out just to watch your team because it's ingrained with you. With boxing, you have to get people interested. If you're not interested,
football is the same because if teams start winning and playing attractive football, more people start turning up to watch them.
No, but if you are a fan of a team, it is in your lineage, your lifeblood. Even if they're playing anti-football, you're going to support it.
That's for you.
That's digressing a bit. At the end of the day, in order to get people interested, you have to be entertaining both out the ring and inside the ring. You have to do both sides of it. And it actually really annoys me when I see very talented boxers. One of them, Katie Taylor, for me, one of the greatest women boxers of all time. Outside of the ring, no entertainment, very boring to hear her speak, her press conferences sometimes, so she's not really capitalizing. If she just went out there and showed more of her personality,
what you mean, like Ebony Bridges stuff?
3, 4, yeah, exactly. Then you get 3-4 times the viewership and you get the eyeballs that you deserve.
But Katie Taylor is a Christian girl. I don't think you're going to see her.
No, I didn't say she had to get. No, I don't mean getting.
Walking around in a bra and knickers.
I don't mean that. I mean like speaking.
Yeah.
Like,
can I make one note before you go to the
Ryan
next
Garcia,
fight?
he earned the views. The reason why he got the 1.4 million pay-per-view buys is because he earned it.
1 second. So before you go to the next point, and I think what almost trumps James's point is the fact that there are actually fighters that do that. There are actually fighters that self-promote and they still don't get the traction.
Because they don't self-promote as well. Ryan Garcia self-promotes and he gets all the viewership because he does it well.
No, but I do see where Shane's coming from.
That's not true.
In this world, though, you can promote yourself as much as you want. If you're not quite deemed as charismatic or good-looking or so-called what the people associate with that, then it's harder.
Yeah, if you're not charismatic, then you're not self-promoting right, and unfortunately...
No, but you can be charismatic and still don't sell.
I'll give you an example.
You have to have the boxing ability and that.
I'll give you one example. I'll give you an example. Wilder, in fight, no one can not say Wilder isn't entertaining. Okay. In the ring.
Yeah.
Outside of the ring, Wilder has done many things, and this was before AJ and Fury came to the forefront, that was very, very interacting. Very, very interacting with fans, interacting with public, and trying to self-promote.
But he wasn't making a big enough name for himself.
One second. He didn't actually get that big push until we fought Tyson Fury. He didn't get that big promotional push. So whilst you can do all the things, you have to be put in the right places for people to see you. And the promotional push that Ryan Garcia got by the Mexican following, Wilder didn't get that. And I'm telling you, I'm not asking because I lived through the boxing time. He didn't get that. So
I think it's fair to say that it's very hard to describe or to have a bullet list of points that's going to make you saleable to the public. Some people have got it and some people just haven't.
And it goes up and down.
It does, yeah. But let's focus a little on the fight itself this weekend because it is a big fight in the boxing world, whether we want to admit it as boxing purists or not. It is. It's going to be a sellout. KSI fighting again. As I said, he's taking on Joe Fournier, who is an established professional fighter, although in my view not a very good one.
I agree.
I'm just going to keep it simple, man. I think KSI beats Joe Fournier relatively easy. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's younger. I mean, Fournier's 10 years older than him. KSI, I would say, has more skills than Joe Fournier. I've seen Joe Fournier fight. I actually took the trouble to watch a few of his fights before I came on his show today. He's a plodder. Doesn't punch very hard. Just basically, he's just not very good. I mean, he had an exhibition recently against a 40-odd-year-old David Haye, who, okay, he's a former world champion, but David Haye was playing with him in there, dropped him in the first round. Easy work. Joe Fournier is a bit of a gimmick. He's a businessman turned boxer. I give him credit for trying a thing, getting in the ring, doing his thing, but he's not very good, bro. And like I said, to me, KSI's got all the physical advantages. He's more skilled, he's stronger, he's younger, he's quicker. To me, it's going to be easy work. Joe Fournier, I know he's trying to take it seriously, but yeah, he's just not very good. Shane, very quickly, your thoughts on
KSI, I think KSI is going to win.
Inside the distance, yeah?
I don't know if it's inside the distance because I do think Joe Fournier's shown No, he's winning inside the distance. he's winning inside the distance. Go on, next.
Nick?
Yeah, I think the same. I think one of the growth of this influencer boxing is that it's looking more and more similar to professional boxing. And what I mean by that is, yes, they're fighting professionals, but they're fighting low-level professionals, and actually a large amount of professional boxing globally looks very similar to that. So they're starting to, him and Jake Paul trying to take on more and more high-quality opponents, and they're taking it a little bit slow, but again, that's how boxing is.
But they're also taking it very seriously. I mean, these
100%.
guys have the resources where they can go out and hire good trainers.
100%,
and almost become full-time pros.
And for us, I do wonder if there's a bit of a, maybe not a class element, but a bit of a stuck-upness that boxing's always been a bit of a working-class sport. We like people with a rough background, rough backstory, and these guys come from a little bit of a
So why do you like Conor Benn then?
Who likes Conor Benn?
You're a big Conor Benn.
We're going off topic.
Let's keep it
but yeah, I think that there's a bit of stubbornness from boxing purists, because these guys come from that relative privilege. But yeah, I think KSI knocks him out. I think it won't be super early, because when KSI fought Swarms and Pineda, we know he wants to put on a show. This is what happens when you are both the boxer and the promoter. You have to manage the overall show as much as the boxing performance. I think he's capable of knocking him out early, but he'll want to put on a decent show.
That's not true. He's not trying to manage the show. The reason he didn't get Pineda out there early is he actually tried to get Pineda and Swarms out there early. First of all, Swarms was running away the entire fight. It was actually hard to knock him out. He hadn't been in the ring for a couple of years, so he was a bit rusty in that sense. And with Pineda kept going around holding the back of his head, stopping the fight.
I agree with you.
He wasn't trying to make it long. As you saw in the Temper fight, he sparked him out in the first round. He's trying to get challenged. He's trying to build himself up for that Jake Paul fight. He's not that whole gimmick of, he's the promoter, he's trying to make it entertaining. He doesn't care. He wants to get him out of there as early as possible. Now, the thing with him, he hasn't been tested yet. Since he's come back, since the Logan Paul fight, he hasn't been tested. He's been trying to get a test. He tried to go for Wasabi, who took Deji the distance. Didn't end up getting that fight. Tried to go for a professional boxer in Pineda, who turned out to be terrible. And he tried to go for Temper, who'd looked very, very good, especially in the King Kenny fight. I know he ended up losing his next fight, and he was kind of building himself back up, but nonetheless he still tried it, and it didn't work out for him. This fight against Joe Fournier, it's a guy who's durable, who doesn't really get, it's going to be hard to knock him out. He's crafty, he's got skills, but he's not explosive.
Limited skills.
No, he's got a lot more skills than a lot of the other people in the influencer scene that he's been fighting.
I'll give you that.
And if you compare him to the elite professional boxer, maybe not, but he's got skills, and it's definitely a step up in in competition. But he's someone who, like you said, he's older. He's not explosive.
But let's be honest. Although Joe, we need to make this abundantly clear. Although he's a professional, he's very low level, and he's 40 years old.
I'm not saying I don't think he's as tough of a test as Tommy Fury was for Jake Paul. But I still think it's a big test for him in terms of getting him out of there. How's he going to deal with it? Is he going to be able to show his power? Is he going to knock him out as easily? I do believe that he will. And the one thing that would scare me if you're rooting for Joe Fournier, the guy's in his camp. He's editing his sparring footage, speeding up his hands because he was that slow, and he was actually paying people to take a dive in sparring footage. Wow. Look it up. It's embarrassing. People are taking dives for him to try and build up.
Let's cut to the prediction.
Yeah, he doesn't have any power.
We all think that we on this side all think that it's easy work for KSI. What about you?
I think KSI will knock him out.
Do you think it?
I think it will pose the toughest test yet, and I want to see KSI challenged. But I do think he will knock him out.
Yeah, so there you have it. I think that's pretty unanimous. We all think KSI easy work. Even if he doesn't win inside the distance, he will mollywop Joe Fournier. I'm pretty sure about that. On the undercard, we've got to talk about it briefly. Salt Pappy, who, YouTuber or not, is actually a guy that I enjoy watching box. I think him and KSI are the two best guys, as far as I'm concerned. Certainly in this country.
This is Salt Pappy's biggest test. Anthony Pretty Boy Taylor. Well, it is. Well, Anthony Taylor hasn't been is his biggest test to this day. Salt Pappy, as in this is his litmus test to see if he can get the next fight. So Anthony Taylor is he's an MMA fighter, and the only people that he has lost to in boxing were Tommy Fury, and he lost to Idris Virgo, both professional boxers. Those are the ones that he's lost to. So if Salt Pappy can't get him out of there, then it does question, or rather if he can't beat him convincingly, then it does question people saying he is the best boxer in the scene and that he is the most like a natural boxer.
Well, to me, it's out of him. And I think skills-wise, I'd edge towards Salt Pappy. but you would have to say, and it's clear when you see them, that KSI is in much better shape.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I think what lets Salt Pepe down is
but
that
Salt Pepe's a bit more slick.
He's more natural. Ruiz of YouTube boxing.
But I actually think he's got more skills, though.
In terms of boxing, yeah, he definitely does. Apparently, he was a decent amateur as a kid.
I mean, just to fight from the shots from the hip, it's really difficult to do, and his punch placement and selection is amazing. Really impressed.
He will absolutely school Anthony Taylor before stopping him. So you?
Well, Anthony Taylor hasn't been stopped yet. He didn't even get stopped by Tommy Fury. So if Salt Papi gets him out of there, that's a massive thing for Salt Papi.
Okay, he might not knock him out, but I think he will win every round and win easy.
Yeah, I do think he'll beat him, but this is the big test for him.
Yeah, I'm not going to go against Salt Papi. He's got the skills, man. He's good.
Nick?
Yeah, he's my favourite of the YouTube boxers, 100%. Pound for pound, top 5 in the YouTube scene. He's the guy. And he's got, I don't know, there's so many guys that are like quite chubby and don't look great like on the scales, but they've just got rapid hands. I don't know where it comes from.
Tyson Fury, mate.
Sure.
Andrew Ruiz.
But yeah, Andrew Ruiz is the one I was thinking of. But yeah, I think Salt Papi easily. And I know James will get upset, but when it comes to MMA fighters boxing, they just aren't great punchers. Their punch technique is not good.
We should just talk about Jake Paul. He's got a fight coming up on August the 5th. He's taking on Nate Diaz, MMA guy, he's had a few losses recently, Nate Diaz, but he's an established name. He has boxed before. Well, I know he's done plenty of sparring. In fact, he used to spar with Andre Ward back in the day. He was a sparring partner for him. I'll just give my prediction very quickly. Easy work for Jake Paul. I think Nate Diaz is well past his best as an athlete. He's actually showing signs of slurring speech.
He's always had that his entire. That's how he's always spoken.
I know he likes to smoke a lot of weed.
Well, I'm fucking steroids, man.
No, that's how he's always kind of been.
Okay.
But that's a direct quote from him.
But that could be a sort of ode to the amount of punishment he's taken over the years. I mean, he's tough and he's grizzled, but he has no real boxing background, even though,
Well, actually, if you listen to people in the sparring rooms, apparently he was a very, very good Western-style boxer. He was very good, but because he has to mix it up.
How many years ago was that?
Jiu-jitsu. No, even now, like when he's sparring and it's limited just to hands and you can't kick and take down. Chael Sonnen used to say he used to watch him spar and he used to hear from people that he was actually a very, very good. No, as in like when they saw him in the sparring room, he was a very competent boxer.
What does Chael Sonnen know about boxing?
I was going to say that.
As in, Chael Sonnen said he spoke to coaches that have worked with Nate Diaz that have said
I was going to say,
he was a very good boxer. I mean, he was. Yeah,
he's
Chael
in
Sonnen
line
was
for the Roger Mayweather don't know shit about boxing.
He was. But the thing with Nate Diaz, he's fallen off it a bit recently. I mean, that Tony Ferguson fight that he just came off, he really did not look himself, and he's
past
aged.
his best from a physical standpoint. He's going into a sport that he's not well versed in. Yes, he used to spar with Andre Ward many years ago. Yes, he used to box as a kid, but that was a long, long time ago. Many, many licks ago. And I think Jake Paul will walk through it.
He's also a 155
probably be a
pounder.
highlight reel knockout.
He's also a 155 pounder that has gone up and fought 170 pounds in his career, but can fight at 155. And you're fighting against a guy that's a natural 190 pounder that cuts down to 185 in Jake Paul. So all the advantages as you'd expect are in Jake Paul. I think
it's just a fight to get Jake Paul back on his
it's a big name
record.
Fight, yeah, it is. I mean, he was actually Nate Diaz was meant to be fighting Logan Paul this entire time, and then as soon as Jake Paul lost to Tommy Fury, obviously plans changed, and I don't know why he's actually appears to be ducking KSI and ducking Tommy Fury. Jake Paul, it actually does seriously look like
he said after that fight he thought he won it. He didn't win that fight.
Well, he said the reason was he was building his batch and he had a wet dream the night before the fight, and that ruined his test.
I happen to think that experiment with him taking on fighters is pretty much over. He's not going to do anything.
One now. I think he will try.
He's changed his trainer as well, hasn't he? He's brought on Sugar Shane Mosley. He's got rid of BJ.
Well, he actually had Sugar Shane Mosley for his first professional fight against Anison Gibb, but.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up, but just quickly, Shane, Nate Diaz and Jake Paul.
I mean, I can't.
Or shall I say Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz?
That whole fight itself, I'm not even going to lie. I can't get excited by it. I don't lie. Like as you said, you got a guy coming.
But who's going to win?
No, quickly. Jake Paul all day.
Knockout.
Jake Paul all day.
Anyone who focuses all their time on boxing beats most people that focus all their time on MMA.
Every time.
Almost every time. So Jake Paul.
Yep, that's pretty unanimous here. Jake Paul. Well, we're unanimous on all three of those.
Yeah, facts.
Four.
KSI is going to smoke Fournier. Salt Pepper is going to smoke.
I don't know about smoke, but he'll beat Anthony Taylor.
And my prediction, and I think we all agree, is that
I'd like to see Nate
Jake
Diaz
Paul's
do
going
it.
to smoke Nate Diaz.
I'd like to see Nate Diaz do it, but
no chance. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one. It's been great having you along. Keep it locked on DR Boxing.